As the world faces increased climate risks from more intense hurricanes and floods to extreme temperatures, Belize is committed to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions and enhance its resilience to the impacts of climate change.
Our national climate targets will be reducing greenhouse gas emission and enhancing our climate resilience to the climate change disasters and impacts that we're facing.
Well, the UNEP Copenhagen Climate Centre has a very long history, more than 30 years, in providing support to developing countries to address the climate challenge. And the UNEP Copenhagen Climate Centre, in this case in Belize, supporting the country with a variety of projects, now latest with the support of the NDC Partnership, the NDC Partnership Action Fund, in looking at ways to enhance private sector investments in climate action.
Massive investments will be needed to enhance this green transition. Fortunately, the investments will also enable green growth opportunities for the private sector towards low-carbon climate-resilient pathways.
Myself being a project officer, I have some knowledge and some information. However, coming out to see these two consultants, they have enlightened me with a lot of new concepts and aspects when it comes to project development, especially linking it to the climate change.
To learn that there's so many different alternatives and ways in which we can obtain some sort of assistance and funding, which is very necessary. I think it was enlightening to learn from the different entities what there is that could support what we need. And so it really provides a lot of insight into how we can go about from this point forward to really benefit from those available entities and support that is in country already.
The NDC Partnership Project, Improving Private Sector Investment for Climate Action in Belize, works to unlock this necessary funding for climate action. Led by the National Climate Change Office of the Ministry of Sustainable Development and Climate Change, jointly with the UNEP Copenhagen Climate Centre, the project focuses on enhancing private sector investment in renewable energy, energy efficiency, and climate-friendly agriculture and livestock technologies and practices.
For economic growth to be sustainable, it has to be resilient, right? Meaning we have to be able to adapt to the changes in climates. We have to be able to mitigate where we can and adapt where we can't mitigate. So when you look at climate finance and you look at what DFC's mandate is, our mandate is to assist nationally in the just transition. So it's a part of everything we do. We mainstream climate, we mainstream gender, and those things are already. So it's part and parcel of what the DFC.
In terms of change, we have to change, right? And that's a continuous thing. So we see DFC on a journey, and if you go back to the whole concept of resilience that I mentioned earlier, then we will always be changing to become resilient and to change.
Through interviews, workshops, and trainings with national stakeholders, experts from the UNEP Copenhagen Climate Centre identifies which solutions can be put in place to attract finance from development finance institutions blended with local banks, credit unions, and other private investors. The goal is to formulate pragmatic strategies that can stimulate investments from the Belizean private sector, thereby nurturing sustainable economic growth while addressing the climate crisis.
There was a good turnout, and most people, I would say, were extremely engaged and not just present. And I believe that's because they saw value in what was proposed, maybe something that's actionable. It was quite positive overall. I think what people want to engage more in is some bilateral talks, one-to-one, directly on their project. That is, if we give like a plenary like this one, they do get information to take back home and to apply. But then again, what they need is real support on the project. So for us to be funded, to support them.
And this support, we hope in the end will enable Belize to both on the international stage attract more climate finance from international donors and climate funds, and at the national level enhance the ability of the private sector to make informed decisions about which climate action would make sense for them to do, which of these investments would generate new revenues or achieve savings or avoid potential loss and damages in the future, and therefore provides an incentive for them to invest in their own businesses, while at the same time also providing information about which financial instruments and vehicles are already available in Belize to invest in climate action for the private sector.
The NDC Partnership project also helps public, private, and NGO stakeholders understand and access funding options like concessional loans and grants.